Year of the Mecha has come full circle on the saga of remote control robot games, with a sequel to the one that started it all. It's Remote Control Dandy, SF. The SF stands for science fiction, in case you didn't know. Speaking of science fiction, Millennium Cyborg.
Hey, it's me again. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Yeah. We were briefly discussing it during the pre-stream as far as like your familiarity with like these type of games kind of going into it. Obviously, you were aware of Remote Control Dandy, the original PS1 game, and then obviously everyone has been made well aware of what Robot Alchemic Drive is, as it was the only one of these games to be released outside Japan. But now we're getting into the actual, for real, sequel to Remote Control Dandy. Japanese only, once again. And, surprisingly, not developed by Sandlot. I know, it's a shocker, but somehow they did it. Some brave, crazy asshole at Konami, like, convinced the higher-ups that they should do another game like this. And they put a spin on it that I think makes it so goddamn amazing. It is like my second favorite of this type of game right after Robot Alchemic Drive.
Someone else dared to make a game about remote-controlled robots.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Remote control. Dandy.
What a great choice of words to finish the title. Whoever thought of Dandy. And see, like I said.
Oh, science fiction.
Yeah.
This is a very good intro already. I love the sheer number of effects they're using.
Mm-hmm. Even the frame rate that this FMV is at makes me think it was made for the PS1.
Yeah.
So, I guess one other interesting detail to get out of the way. Obviously, these robots look really cool in a unique, cartoonish way, naturally. Mecha designer for this game was Kao Yokoyama. You can look that up and kind of see like all the other works he's done in his career. But between the robot designs and obviously these character designs that we see right here, you know, this being post-2000s, I think I'll say post-Giant Robo OVA, this is very much embracing the sort of trend that certain series were having, where they were kind of re-embracing, like, the old anime manga aesthetics for, like, character designs and proportions, even as, like, the current popular, like, anime designs of the 2000s was in a very different direction.
I'm almost getting a bit of a Big O vibe from some of the mecha designs as well.
Yeah, especially because I was about to bring that up. If you look at like the profile shot silhouette of like the main robot, it also reminds me of Big O.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good about that. So, and one last thing I kind of want to explain, because I had to do a bit of prep for this, because this is another one of those Japan-only games. You know, there's the obvious language barrier. We're not really going to be able to understand much of the story, if at all. I was only really able to do as much as I could with my phone using Google Translate to kind of break down, like, I guess some stuff in the manual, the back of the box, even the opening video, like when we start new game. But on the back of the box, it has, like, I think one of the greatest taglines I have ever seen, like, once I actually translated and understood it. And it was basically saying, like, manipulation of a giant robot. A third-person action game in which you control a giant robot. Now that it has become the norm, shouldn't we take the time to reevaluate the underlying concept of remote control robots? This is a robot game for pure robot fans.
Is the difficulty settings there, are those from the previous game as well, or is the
This
charisma level of difficulty new thing?
difficulty select was new for this. Like, when you started remote controlled and the original, it just dropped you straight into the game. Regular is basically like the default, and everything after just gets progressively harder. In a way, I don't exactly find this fun, just because it's less so that they hit hard, but it's more like because of how slow and deliberate these games are meant to go. That means the AI knows exactly how to control like the opposing giant robot and just hit you in your most vulnerable spots every time. But to give an idea of just what's going on with the plot from what I was able to roughly translate, a chain of 5 meteorites fell to Earth in like the prehistoric era. Millions and millions of years later, humanity like uncovered the remains of those meteorites, found that there was like a special energy core inside of them that was of a heptagonal shape.
Whoa.
And because of that, it was an energy source that could, like, fuel so many technological advancements. There was a foundation made that was built around that heptagonal, like, energy core called Seven Bridge. And, so went all the way from, like, you know, the kind of vehicles and industries that we know to the space race, and to finally making actual robot labor. But somewhere around this time, an event like this is also, like a catastrophe happens, the Great Collapse, at about, like, say, a good few centuries after our current time. I presume it was a result of when they built, like, these giant robots as, like, manual labor. Probably went nuts or some shit.
Oh, that looks bad.
Yeah.
I'm very into the vector graphics in that intro, though.
Yeah, that's, like, the coolest shot of the entire intro. But as it stands, catastrophe struck the surface of the Earth. Humanity is trying to work on a plan to, like, a whole reclamation plan for the Earth itself. But until then, humanity is basically living, like, what remains of it inside colony cities that extend, like, deep into, like, the subterranean, sectors of the Earth. There's, like, multiple layers to it, where most live below ground, and, like, a select amount of them actually get to live on the surface, where, weirdly enough, the surface ends up looking a lot like 19th century architecture, for some reason. I don't know, guess it was the style that's in at the time. Honestly, it does bring up a good point, but, like, what is this, Armored Core? Yeah, like, it... Yeah, both kind of are in the similar situation where most of humanity is living underground, although at least I could give a bit of a pass to humanity in this game compared to Armored Core, because AC's view on humanity is always so goddamn cynical. Like people cannot be trusted to maintain anything without just escalating to overwhelming violence. And putting a keyword, as well as our gender. The keyword is not our main character's name, weirdly enough. In fact, I forget exactly what the keyword is supposed to refer to. But we inputted that 30 years before the start of this game. Like, those scientists were basically kind of having a inner conflict about whether or not what they were making is going to be the right thing, because they don't want it to be used as a tool for war. You know, stop me if you've heard this cliche before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. I love it. It's, like, if there's one thing you can count on for, like, a lot of Japanese media in particular, is that there is a very heavy lack of cynicism when they're, like, just going straight for any of these sort of, like, tropes. Like, they're not doing it because they're like, well, that's what you do. It's like they have a love that, yes, this is what you do, and it's awesome, no matter how dumb it is.
I do enjoy that.
Yeah, I guess it would kind of be like a Mega Man X wake-up password, in a way, I suppose. But I don't know. I feel like if I were to do another playthrough of this, like in the future, like all the way through, I would probably go to the effort, as slow as it would be, to try machine translate all this text just to get a better understanding of what's happening. Because, unfortunately, It is. I feel just about impossible to find any, like, translated material about this game online. It is significantly, like, more unknown than its predecessor, which was already extremely niche to begin with. Like, I still think the PS1 game getting an English translation, like, by fans a few years ago was still, like, a stroke of luck.
It's been a great few years for fan translations of PS1 games.
Absolutely. Yeah, like, because, like, there was that. I remember there was Mizurna Falls as well, if you remember that. Like, it was like a Twin Peaks-esque, almost like the proto-Deadly Premonition.
Yeah. Project Blue.
Yeah.
PS4 I've forgotten the name of.
He's doing the introduction for us as to who we are, because we're a silent protagonist. We're Unikawara, who's the new robot commander. Again, we're a child, because that's what you do when it's a remote control robot story.
Of course.
Although if I had my way, I would probably want to find any way to kind of make my remote control robot story where the main character's a high school girl.
An office worker.
Oh, that'd be even better, actually. I think that would be almost more comedy in a way, like to have to go that way. Because I'm imagining something like either that or akin to. You read the manga Look It Up to Magical Girls?
It's
the one where the girl, like, who's a fan of magical girls and is visited by a mascot and thinks she's going to become a magical girl, except that her transformation is to become the villain.
Yes.
And she's
hang on.
and it's like, and like she's repressing super hard the fact that she's actually a sadomasochist, or not even a masochist, just a sadist.
Okay, I was thinking of a different one where a girl applies to like a magical girl agency but ends up like being just admin or something and not becoming a magical girl at the beginning.
Oh, I think the other one I'm thinking of is one where like she goes into like a shared living space for magical girls, but like all the magical girls there are retired and they are like and it's because of the whole transformation is like they don't age, but like their personalities do, so they are like old bitter women with like regrets about their life.
Oh, I want to read that.
Yeah. So at this point, the game's kind of like giving you a bunch of prompts to go through a whole lot of tutorials, which fortunately we can skip. I'm glad that they had the notion to include that, since the original remote controlled Dandy does not. Which, that PS1 game, I understand why they didn't want you to skip it, because at the time, there was no game that was like remote controlled Dandy. There was not a robot game in which you had to move your robot by alternating L1 and R1 to simulate forward steps. This game still does that, but it actually has something even crazier that I will adequately explain once we get into the first proper mission. But until then, we're just like skipping all these tutorials that cover basic robot movement and like basic character movement. It's a G Gundam style suit. Not enough black latex, unfortunately. Also, the implication of that being on a child, I just realized is extra fucked up. I redact that. I still really love, like, these character designs, though.
Oh, yeah.
The fact that they're, like, I imagine it was, like, a conscious decision just so they could have a game that is, like, as 3D as possible and not rely on anything, like, 2D cutaways for, like, character portraits. Because the original remote control Dandy absolutely had that. I mean, it was a PS1 game, so they still... So I feel like that was the best way they could get across, like, the anime aesthetic by, like, having the character portraits. But here, it's like, characters are very simple and rounded in their shape and design, like classic 60s inspired manga style. That, like, I think it translates really well to like this fidelity of 3D polygons.
And animation just takes a lot more time to do than portraits and a visual novel style.
Yeah.
Presentation.
And even a lot of times, like, those, like, portraits aren't even animated. Like, the most they'll do is, like, an animation for, like, the lip flaps, but you don't really get anything extra past that.
I like that character design for the professor.
Yeah, I was about to get into that. It's like, what dye job did he get to have his hair look like that? Or not even a dye job. It's like, how old is he that, like, he's only getting gray hairs in stripe patterns? Yeah. Yeah, all the bridge bunnies had to get us to do stuff, leaving behind Dan. because they just don't have enough staff at the moment. Yeah, we got important things to do. Although,
so does the Nintendo Labo robot kit count as a remote-controlled robot game?
I don't know. Honestly, I forgot that that Labo even existed. like it's been a while since that came about. And then the internet got really weird about the fact that Nintendo made something that isn't marketed towards their main demographic. Honestly, I'm just gonna like skip like the remaining ones because like I'm getting a bit impatient waiting for like the start of the first mission, because like all this is set up and talking with like characters where it's like I can't translate this on the fly, especially because the text boxes, they automatically advance forward, so I'm not really able to like, even if I wanted to, my phone would not be able to translate one of the text boxes fast enough before it immediately switches to the next one. Like, in order to translate this, I would need to record footage of every single story sequence and pause, like, every other second. just so I could get enough time to actually translate the characters on screen. Though I will say, before we skip again, look at this captain. Look how fantastic that mustache and beard is. Doesn't even need his eyes open all the time. and even like bringing up like the matter of like the old school like manga character designs, like I think one of the best traits to pay attention to if you want to like make characters like that is to pay attention to how they always exaggerate the size of the buttons on uniforms.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like you ever read like an old manga where it was like with high school kids, and like the boys' uniform always like has like those two columns of like buttons that are like always like super big.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the same thing as well, like on like a military uniform like that captain has. Yeah. Honestly, I can empathize with that point, Hasio. It is a pain to draw more than 3 buttons.
Galaxy Brain solution.
Exactly. Galaxy Brain solution for emulating like old Disney art styles. Yeah, let's hurry things along. I do know, at least from the translation, that this is us going to the surface with Mimi, who's basically giving us a tour of like how the colony city setup is. That, you know, there's the above ground area, there's the underground area, which is for the majority of the population, obviously people that are like middle class and below. And then there's like even below that, there's like the maintenance facilities and administrations that are at the bottom level. But also, as she hints during this, there's actually something even deeper below.
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, stratifying your societies in literal layers always works out well.
Yeah, doesn't solve the problem of, you know, continuing to perpetuate, like, cultural and social divides, but whatever. Yeah, the underground robot wrestling ring. You say that as a joke. No, that's not what's actually at the very bottom, but the concept of an underground robot wrestling ring, there is literally that. There is a giant-ass wrestling ring that you go to later in the game for, like, special training when the game is wanting to give you tutorials on, like, how to do more advanced moves. It's amazing. So here's Hope City. With the, like I said, the aesthetics being very late 19th century.
Very, like, European.
Yeah. Which I think is a nod to how, the start of Remote Control Dandy actually has you in Paris. Whereas, like, your main character who's, like, having tea, but then, like, a robot attacks and you have to run away. So, like, and you can tell it's Paris because they just go straight for, like, you have to run past the Arc de Triomphe. But yeah, very late 19th century, like, France inspired. Yeah, that's right. I think that was one of the lines was like, wondered what the sky used to look like before the catastrophe because, yeah, shit just went wrong, presumably because of automated robot labor going berserk from some bizarre hectagonal energy source inside of a meteorite. Because here's one of them.
Uh-oh. So is it automated as in fully autonomous?
Yes.
Not remote controlled?
Pretty much the idea.
Oh, this one's a phone! It's a giant phone!
The Telebel 1. Even better is that there's a second version of this called the Telebel 2, and instead of a rotary dial on the front, it's a 10 keypad. Oh yeah, and there you go, because this is like a underground shelter with like an above ground layer and all this, like this crazy, like, the mechanized structure. Of course they were able to get a conceit put together where they could just erect giant walls to box in any rogue robots so they could deal with the problem. So we're getting ready to fight this robot. Fortunately, it's just the one-on-one, so there's... And it's actually straight in front of us, so navigation won't be too difficult. But you might be wondering, obviously, this is based on Remote Control Dandy. Are the controls largely the same? Yes, they are. For movement and attacks and torso manipulation, it is the same as the PS1 game. The difference, however, and this is the insane part when you first describe to people, you can move your player character and your robot simultaneously.
Amazing.
You move your main character, you move Uni with the left analog stick, and then you alternate like the shoulder buttons to walk the robot forward, like always. Like, no longer do you have to swap control manually every time. And again, like, it's the sort of thing where the first time you hear it, you go, that's gotta be impossible. That's like patting your head and rubbing your tummy at the same time.
You've played Steel Battalion, so it's no problem.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like, I see control schemes like this, and I'm like, that sounds like a challenge. Also, I want to do something really quickly, just to show people how possible it is. Yeah, you can get on the back, on the top of your robot. There we go. Yeah.
Nice. What are the left and right meters there?
Okay, so basically your robots have 3 types of meters. The middle is the health, like health energy for obvious reasons. The orange meter is like your knockdown meter, essentially. Like, if that gets filled up all the way, like, the hit that fills it up is what knocks you down. And then the yellow energy meter is, like, for your special attacks. You need it to at least be 50% for most attacks, and occasionally you need it to be 100% for specific special attacks. But yeah, that was just to show that, you know, like in Robot Alchemic Drive, you could get on the shoulder of your giant robot. I don't necessarily advise it, just because of how this game always has you in first person. And it makes it a bit difficult, because the camera is not pulled back far enough to really make it worthwhile. You know, in Robot Alchemic Drive, if you got on the shoulder of your Mega Knight, like, the camera would stay in third person rather than going to a first person view, and would, like, be pulled back at just the right amount that it's like you would have good view of your character and the upper body of your robot. Here, it's all first person. There's all kinds of, like, accoutrement and details, like, on your robots that you control that would make it very difficult to see things half the time. So, for a game like this, it's much more advisable to play it like the first game, where you just... yeah, like, you just stay on the ground. That's a perfectly fine way to play it as well, just because that gets across the point that these games are always good at, which is conveying the sheer scale of what is happening in front of you. You are this tiny human, like, controlling a giant with a remote control.
Can you squish yourself with your own robot by accident?
Yes. I mean, it won't be an instant death like a kill, but you will take damage just from stepping on yourself. That's basically a thing with all these games. Well, yeah, of course we're tiny, Hasio. We're a literal child. I can't stop looking at Dr. Y's hair. I just can't.
That's to distract you from the TNT he's got in his pocket.
Oh, Jesus, you're right. Motherfucker looks like he would totally fit in like a wacky racist scenario.
Yes, absolutely.
It's especially the long nose and mustache, especially more than the hair, that I think is what gives it away for me. And I guess all the gizmos he's got stuffed into his pocket as well. Yeah, it's like, this game desperately needs a fan translation. It's not impossible to do it for PS2 games. There have been ones that got it before. And I don't think this game is necessarily too big that it would be like a daunting task for people to try and do. Especially when the original remote control dandy obviously got it. And already on the third episode. Because the first episode was all the tutorials we just skipped. Because it's important. Like, this is what the back of the box was talking about, of we should reevaluate what it means to control a giant robot. The reevaluation was them going, you should be able to control the robot and yourself at the same time. Yeah, and I'm just gonna like keep skipping so we can get to some more of the missions. So like with this game, like when I first played it, obviously the thing that like drew me in was hearing about the crazy approach, the different approach they took to the control scheme compared to Rad. Where, you know, Rad had like the arm control with the analog sticks and all that stuff. And realizing that the analog sticks are for controlling your human character simultaneously, I was like, well, okay. But does that mean you have like less attack options? Because the way you attack is that you have to use the face buttons. Square for left arm and circle for right arm. And so I was like, that can't be it, right? But then as I had discovered when playing through this, that you press those buttons in conjunction with D-pad directions, since it controls the torso, and in some cases, your attack properties will change based on your foot position. So
that's cool.
Yeah, so like, let's say with your right foot, if it's neutral or forward, and you just press the circle button, you'll just do like a small jab. But if the right foot is back, like behind you, and you press the circle button again, what happens is that you'll do a straight. And then, if you wanted to be even more powerful, you press the R1 to move your right foot forward and circle at the same time, and you'll do like a forward step straight.
Wow, I like that.
So, that first robot that we were using, that was just called the Labor. Like, it's a very dinky-looking construction bot. Here, we're getting our choice of, like, our first real robot to choose from. If you were playing on a fresh save, I think this would be the only one you would get a choice of. But after playing through completing a playthrough of this and a playthrough of the bonus scenario, you get access to more robots to choose from, such as the Freedom. As soon as it loads, there it is.
Oh wow! I was not expecting that.
Yeah. And the thing that you wouldn't expect when you play it is that while most robots will just punch with their upper body, this one's attacks will actually incorporate kicks. Yeah, and and this is the Hausen. He has a drill on the right arm and a spiked wrecking ball on the left.
Classic.
Yeah, because it's a Hausen for that, and like the first one we had was called the Belverk. And then this one is the Big Bam, or Big Bomb, however it's supposed to be. It's straight from Mega Man Legends, that's true, yeah. But this one is really cool because its unique trait is that it has combination attacks, like dial strings, essentially, for its moves. That all have different starts and enders depending on, like, its foot position and, like, which D-pad direction you use at the end.
Wow.
Yeah, and then...
And it's tiny.
Yeah, and here we have with this one, it's the Nilgiritar. I think that's how you pronounce it. Like when I put the machine translation on it, it was like, it almost came out like gibberish. I don't even know what... Maybe it's another German word, I'm not sure. But this one has pile bunkers, like pistons, in its arms.
Heck yeah.
So when you punch, you press the X button as the punch connects, and you just mash it, and you cycle through like all 6 pistons on the arm that you use.
Oh, wow. I don't think I've seen like...
We're back. I'm taking this as a sign to never open Notepad++ ever again for any reason while streaming. Because I wanted to have the like the move list I had written down for all these for all these robots on hand, but whatever, I'll just do it based on memory. But yeah, and continuing from where we were, because Nigiritar, whatever you call it, has the 6 piston like pile bunkers on each arm. That's cool. Here we have Sundance Kid, which is more of an artillery robot. One of its moves even places landmines on the ground. So if you want to like set up traps for a robot coming towards you, you could totally do that. And its special attacks involve the shark missiles mounted on its shoulder.
Very nice.
Yeah, and then loading up this one. This is the Vordon. This is the original player-controlled robot from Remote Control Dandy on the PS1. It's more or less about the same as the Belverk. You know, like the Belverk's meant to be more like kind of like the newer, updated version of the same concept. I mean, both Belverk and Vordon basically have the same type of special attack anyway, where they do rocket punches. Because of course you do.
I love a rocket punch.
So those are our mecha that we get to choose from, especially now that we've unlocked the option to choose which one to start with. There's actually a lot more playable mecha to choose from, but that's entirely within the, I believe it's in free mission and the versus mode, which that is a whole other thing to get into, especially the versus mode. Like, for whatever reason, hidden in there is a full-on fighting game inspired training mode.
Huh.
Like, you can create like setups for like scenarios that will allow for like combo training, essentially. Like, it's wild to think about that this is, like, the game where they thought to do that, whereas all the other remote control robot games before it are... They have a lot of nuance and options to how you can control the robot, but you never are really given, like, a safe, controlled space to experiment with it.
Many fighting games don't even include that.
Yeah, yeah, these days it's like if you ship a fighting game without a well-featured training mode, that's like one of the things that you'd like rightfully get blasted for, because that's like kind of important for the people that really that part of their game plan just comes from labbing. But I really like the Belverk design. Again, like you said at the beginning, you got like Big O vibes from it. The color scheme obviously like contributes to that. I also like the horns because you can't go wrong with cribbing from Blackhawks.
Yeah. And those circles on the helmet bit.
Mm-hmm. And even just the shoulders just being big jet turbines is a fantastic aesthetic design.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, weaponized robots are forbidden by law. Yeah, that's the... Yeah, like, there's a good reason that this universe did that, because, like... because of robots, when they made those before, being tied to the events leading up to the Great Collapse. But yeah, but because of the sudden turning up of autonomous robots causing problems, the only way we can really fight back is with a giant robot of our own. Fortunately, we got like 8 to choose from. I mean, technically there's also and that's the thing as well. Well, I guess it's actually 7 in this case when we went through the hangar, because labor is one of them, but you're not really given many opportunities to like use it because it's not meant to be a weaponized robot like this one is, you know? It's called labor. It's meant for like hard labor construction type work. But there's also an upgraded version of that called the gun labor. And it's just it's a silver colored version, like a silver and black striped colored version of the labor, but like its arms now have built-in guns. Yeah, kind of bad labor. Oh, and as you can see, there's also the heptagonal core energy source that we were talking about that was salvaged from the meteorites.
The flux capacitor, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I love that like coming up with an energy source, they were able to come up with something that like its major defining point is like its shape, and that they and that the shape they go with is literally like a 7-sided surface. You know, it's a it's so silly, but whatever. The game owns it, like full stop.
That's what you gotta do, really.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, let's just keep going. we can listen to Dr. Y talk all day, but it's 4 dimensions better than a flux capacitor. That's a good way to put it. God, like, just thinking about the... Oh, here it is. I think this was... Yeah, this is also what I was talking about when we first saw Telebel. I think this is the introduction of his new upgraded brother. The Telebel 2.
Here we go.
And hopefully with this, hopefully we don't kill it too fast. Yeah, see what I was talking about? Yeah. It's got the numpad right on the front. When I go to the versus mode to show off like the full breadth of the playable robots, some of the designs and like their gimmicks you're really going to appreciate, because like I said, like this game just owns all of like its goofy ideas and aesthetics. It knows it looks like it's a 60s robot manga and doesn't give a fuck. Like releasing in the mid-2000s. But since we'll be launching with the Belverk, that means we'll be using a robot that actually has access to its special attacks, where like it's activated by going into translation says it's like hyperweight mode. It's just a weird one. Like, why hyperweight? I'm not sure. Hyper mode by itself makes a lot of sense. But yeah, that's basically activated the same way as it is in Remote Control Dandy, as well as how it's activated in Robot Alchemic Drive. Does the Tellbell 3 have a touchscreen? Oh, man. If there was a... okay, we need... okay, we need Remote Control Dandy SSF, where we bring back both Tellbells, and then we bring in its newer cousin, the Tellbell 3, and it is just a smartphone. Oh yeah, this is one thing that we can do if we want to. We can give custom paint jobs to our giant robots.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's like we have 2 preset original colors for every robot. Like basically the player 1 color and player 2 color that it would default to if you were in Versus. And then you have like a total of like 12 edit color slots.
Sure, why not? You might need that many.
Yeah, why not? And you can, you could, and the painting even goes all the way down to, like the different parts, as it were. So like, yeah, so like stuff for head. Although it's all like in grayscale at the moment. Oh yeah, and triangle and squares to zoom in and out. You can load in sample colors as well to give you an idea of like what to work towards. So, like, there's a green one. I'm gonna see if, yeah, unfortunately, it's, like, still very, Okay, yeah, I'll be honest, though. At least when it comes to, Oh, right. Okay, now I realize what it is. Like, why it's flashing. Because it's like, it's the individual color segments of each part.
Right.
That when you select, then you get the RGB values that you can adjust. For a minute, I thought what was happening was that it was only allowing you to select, like, sample colors that change the whole thing. But no, that's basically... Okay, so you select, like, the... Yeah, so you have head, body, arms, and legs. And then other is for what I like to call, like, the highlight sections, as it were. It's like the parts of the robots that you would dedicate to what is like the secondary or tertiary color scheme, as it were. Like, so like the kind of like the upper legs and like biceps and joints, like those all kind of count as that same one.
You rarely see this much color customization.
Like even Armored Core traditionally doesn't go as far to the point where it's like yeah, they do have like general part selection, like with like head, body, arms, legs, and similar stuff like that. But it's also just split into like it's a very uniform like primary, secondary, tertiary color for each one. You don't really have one where it's like, like the green part that's highlighted, then the red part of the head that's highlighted, then the mouthpiece. Then the like the circle bits, and then the horns. Like those are all their own separate color sources. You would never get that on a single headpiece, like in quite the same way. Probably because in the case of Armored Core, because of how customizable each your ACs are down to the individual parts, I guess they had to have like a very uniform setup to how that would be done. But yeah, that's a look at the like the paint factory. I even learned a little bit more about it myself, if I'm being honest. Like they're like it, but seeing more of that stuff in detail is just what reminds you why like the person that was able to get this greenlit at Konami is like a hero. Because like just going out of their way to do to simply make a sequel would have been easy to do it at like the absolute bare minimum, but then there's just all this other extra shit that is done to like go above and beyond.
Do you know if the game sold well?
Probably not. Again, it's really hard to find any sort of info about this game. it doesn't even have, like, walkthroughs uploaded for it on GameFAQs. That's how niche it is.
Wow.
There's a cheats section and a section to download saves, but that's kind of it. Alright, now stop me if you've seen this launch sequence before.
Looks kind of familiar somehow. I like to just think about how much effort it would be to create these mega structures, you know? How much material is involved.
Especially to get it all done in a quick enough time following, like, a worldwide catastrophe, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Although I guess part of that would have to... Is this the Geo front? I guess so, if we go with that. If we go with that comparison. So now, the Telebell's not spawned directly in front of us, so this mission expects us to do a lot more in terms of, like, proper navigation.
Gotta turn.
Yeah, which turning, as always in these type of games, is you hold, like, both shoulder buttons of either the right side or left side. Which, if I'm being honest, I think I would have preferred if it did the, well, no, I meant... Belverk, you were not supposed to jump. I was supposed to jump. I'm trying to get on your shoulder. Hold on. There we go. We can pause to bring up the map, thankfully.
So the energy bars and intensity bars on the left and right sides.
Yeah.
Are those your arms?
No, the one on the left is for our player robot. The right is for the boss.
Gotcha.
So Telebell, like, its health is noticeably low. You know, unsurprising. Oh, I don't think I'm gonna be able to, like, fit through these. Whoops, hold on. And I will say, when it comes to the physics in Remote Control Dandy SF, how it feels to move around, like, I admit, like, initially I wanted to think that this was secretly done by Sandlot and Konami pulled a Konami by trying to, for whatever reason, like, just erase the developer's name so that they could take all the credits. But I don't think that's the case because, like, I think the other big giveaway as far as, like, why this isn't made by Sandlot is because, just the physics of the way the robot moves is not at all, it's just not the same, you know? Because, if you looked at how everything moved in Robot Alchemic Drive, everything had, like, a very bouncy, physics-driven feel to it. You know? Like, when you were moving the legs, it was like the legs themselves were the only thing that's animating, and your torso was just, like, bouncing and flopping around as it was moving forward. Here, you look at it in motion, like, the torso is also, like, kind of, like, moving left and right, kind of, in addition. Okay. Actually, I'm gonna let it hit me a bit more because I want to, fun. Yeah, and they can block. There's a little axe hand. Like, alright. Now, I'm going to back up because I have enough, I now have, like, enough energy to show off its hyperweight attack. I think. Oh no, that's right. I need to unlock it first in the laboratory. I can't do that yet.
Oh.
Yeah. Which I think even if I were to play this in free mission, it would also be, like, something that is expected of you to do as well. Well, the thing in free mission is that depending on the mission, it will automatically apply a certain amount of upgrades based on when you would realistically be able to acquire them in the campaign. So the stats that Belverk started with in this mission would not be the same if you were to go to the final mission in, like, the free mission mode. It would basically treat it as, like, assuming it would basically work on the assumption that you only focused on upgrading the Belverk, and then at the end you would basically have max health, max defense stats, and all like the special attacks unlocked. Tell Bell to use long distance call. It wasn't very effective. And yeah, honestly, like that. Thank you for like bringing it up, because that's the other thing I wanted to mention about like what I also find really interesting with this game from a usability standpoint is the foot indicator on the HUD. Which it's more than foot indicator, it's also like torso indicator as well. Like it's almost like a mini radar for the robot itself that shows where its limbs are positioned, as well as not just the facing direction, but also kind of in what direction is the enemy. Like there's a red dot that circles around like the indicator. And that's like a godsend after playing so much of Robot Alchemic Drive, Tetsugen 28, all these like other remote control robot games where you were basically at the mercy of having to eyeball it, and like whether or not perspective was lying to you, because looking at like a 3D space on a flat projected screen is not actual 3D. So I'm just gonna go straight to the next story, and we'll try like a different robot. But after this, I think we'll switch over to a mix of like free mission and training mode, just so it can show some of the later stuff, and to hopefully also get access to some of the special moves that these robots have, as well as go into the training mode and just show off like how in-depth that is.
And I want to see some goofy robot designs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's definitely some goofy shit in this game. Like you ever wanted to fight a giant robot that has like a Cheshire grin, like a Cheshire Cat's grin on its torso? So let's see. What would be? Yeah, that's Sundance Kid. Hey, let's actually go with Big Bam. Because I know at least like one of the arms on it is like unlocked. I forget which one that might be. But oh wait, I think it was okay, yeah, it's right, so like these tutorials we skip, we can still go back to them from like the tutorial menu when we're like kind of in between missions, as it were. Just gotta, yeah, at this point we just gotta like keep skipping. As much as I would like to pretend that I know more about what's going on in the story, it's just not feasible. Professor was very busy building all these robots. Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
There's a bunch of enemy robots attacking, and we're gonna have to fight them. And that's all we need to know.
Yeah. And then like the penultimate mission has you in an even bigger robot that I think might even be a colony city that's like transformed into a robot Macross style. Yes. And you fight another similarly sized robot. Like that is absolutely like one of the free missions I have to show, because the idea is so ludicrous.
All the people inside the city are loving it. Just like getting...
This is awesome! So here's like, I guess, a treasure chest lock and key themed robot. Lock and roll. Yeah. Yeah, that's a way to put it. Again, I love these goofy robot designs. There needs to be more of this in the world.
Yeah.
And again, even with all the old-time architecture, they still have holographic displays for like traffic lights and shit.
You gotta know it's the future.
Indeed. Professor dissing the design. You know, with the giant like padlock skirt, yes, I would diss it for that as well. I'm like, what? Like, who designed this? All right. Now then, thinking if I remember it correctly, like the arms, like the special attacks that are unlocked for that includes the hyperwave move for the Big Bam, as well as one of the combination moves. I think that's the case. I'll probably do like a bit of a double check before before we get in range of the enemy itself. But this is like a cool robot to play as if you want the satisfaction of being able to like smoothly chain together melee moves into like, instead of just being like, I'm going to throw one big super heavy punch and then go back to neutral. Like the main playable robots the game expects you to use starting out. Like, even if this wasn't a single-player game, like, there's enough robots to fill out, like, a Street Fighter 2 World Warriors-esque, like, roster. You know, like, you could take them and, like, figure out, like, these are their core archetypes that all other robots should be designed around. So it's all the way over there.
ユニ、それを踏み潰せ、一気に木っ端みじんにしろ。ならんぞ。あれは人類を救った英雄セブンブリッジ像じゃないか。そんなことをしたら財団に。うるさい。私はあの銅像が嫌いなんだ。やっちまえ。ユニ、やめろ。やめてくれ。
I'm assuming that this is the area where like the memorial for like the founder of Seven Bridge, like a guy who sacrificed himself during the Great Collapse, is currently like, and so I guess the captain is trying to be like, no, please don't destroy things too much. It's an important symbol, that statue. Anyway, I'm trying to remember. Let's see. Okay, so we only got like the first part of the combination, which doesn't include like the third hit follow-up. That'll be one where I'll absolutely have to show that in the training mode. Let's see if I can at least get up here, because what I do want to do is ride on top of Big Bam for the... Oh, no. God damn it. Because it was crouched down, its shoulder line was slanted down that I just slid off. That is amazing. This is why it is impossible. This is why it is not advised to like ride on top of your giant, your remote control robot like it's Giant Robo. It's not meant for it the same way it is in Rad, which is such a shame.
What if they put a seat for you inside the robot?
Huh? Like just let it like do things on its own?
No, you could control the robot and you remote control it from inside the robot. That would solve a lot of problems, I think.
You mean like a cockpit in like a tank or something? That's impossible. That would never catch on. like what is this, a tank with legs? We're not in BattleTech. Oh yeah, that's also like another thing I need to show off as well. You can technically strafe, but this kind of gets back into why I wish the controls for rotating on the spot was different. Because
there goes that building.
Oh yeah. Oh shit. Fun and. Yeah, it's a bit tough, I will say, with the combination attacks to get the timing, because it's like the timing you need to wait for to initiate the second hit of a string is way later than I personally would prefer it to be. But usually once it gets to the second hit and then the third, it's like a lot easier to get on the regular. Oh, step back just in time. Yeah, I mean, and there's even like other weird situational melee moves you can do where if you're turning in a direction and then use like the like if you're turning with both L1 and L2, but then you use like your right punch, it basically puts out like a faster version of your hook, like your right hook, which the idea is that it's supposed to be like a way to like catch enemies that are trying to move forward and attack you. Like kind of like a setup for a counter hit, which I'm admittedly never that good at being able to get it half the time.
The game doesn't have a split-screen multiplayer or anything, does it?
No. The camera that it goes with for multiplayer, actually, you'll even see it when we get into training mode. It's actually pretty ingenious. But anyway, let's do this. There's the combination.
Yeah.
There's the hyper mode attack. Yeah! And one last punch while it's airborne for good measure.
Full hit combo.
Oh, it turns out it wasn't dead. It had a magic pixel. you know, this one looks very Warhammer 40K. As with the with like the sort of lock and key looking one. I could imagine I could imagine an orc piloting that. I could see that being a, well, I don't know, like add a bit more green and other junkyardy looking bits attached to it, and that would be a perfect like orc mech right there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's one of the hyperweight attacks, which is done by like okay, so for as much as I love what this game does for like framing so many feature-sensitive controls, this kind of gets into a bit of awkwardness in terms of how they map the inputs, and it has to do with the fact that square and circle are like your left and right attacks. That hyperweight mode attack requires you to press both of them at the same time. Now think about that with any gamepad, with like the standard diamond face button arrangement we have. That's like next to impossible to adequately hit with your thumb. And that's not even counting how there are some attacks that will actually incorporate the X button in combination with them. There are some attacks that require you to press X, square, and circle at the same time.
Well, that's almost easier. You just mash your thumb across the whole thing.
Just mash your entire like hand on it. Just slap the face buttons. It's the sort of thing where like, yeah, like with like those button setups, I almost would be curious to see what it would be like to try and play this with an arcade stick. But then knowing how important it is to move your character independently, and that moving and aiming is done the same way like it is in any standard game, you know, where the right stick's to camera, like that'd be real difficult. You can quickly look at the laboratory though, just to kind of see now that we unlocked it. So we can do stuff like upgrade. The core refers to like the stats like for like the robots themselves. I forget. I guess I'm gonna race Hasio to see like if I can translate this before he can. Joint strength, strength in joints, armor, and output is, I guess, like the way. And yeah, like the capital below, that's like the money we earn from all this. Naturally, it's a shit ton of money because these are big robots. Suit is in referring to like our player capabilities. So like increasing our boost power, durability, and radio wave enhancement, which is another thing that I forgot to mention. It's kind of like a holdover from the original remote control Dandy. Your remote control has a limited range on like how far away you can be from your robot before it's just the signal strength is too weak to give it commands. In the original, it was obviously a big deal because if you controlled your robot, you weren't moving. If you were moving, your robot wasn't in control. Here, you can move at the same time, so I almost question the purpose of this anymore. Because it's like, you're always wanting to stay close. And then arms, this is where you select which of your available robots you want to unlock more parts for. So we could like just do this to easily unlock all of the Bellworks special abilities if needed.
Right, so these parts just unlock special moves. They're not appearance changes and weapon changes.
That is correct. Yeah, and like basically all of these are some manner of accelerated attack. like Excel Punch. The last one that we don't have enough money to unlock is called the Double Excel Punch, which is a 1-2 rocket punch. You launch one rocket punch, and then within a short window, you press the other attack button to launch your other fist at the same time. It's pretty good. And naturally, because of that, it actually uses all of your special energy meter, so you have to have it at 100%. But that's a look at what the what going through the campaign is like. There is like this additional campaign that I talked about called Another Story, where it's less missions, but the idea is that you play as another character who's also a robot commander, and she has her own robot that's doing her own things. The Freedom that you saw, like that's golden, the bird-looking one that I said has kick moves, is actually the robot that you control in this scenario.
Right.
But yeah, let's actually just go into free mission just so I can quickly get out of the way that penultimate mission. I believe it's the penultimate mission I was talking about, the one where it's like you're controlling a Macross class-sized mecha,
yes,
and fighting another massive one. So, I believe...
And then the final mission presumably is you and another person on foot just slapping each other to death.
He's... No. This was 2 years before Gurren Lagann. We didn't quite have that idea yet. Yeah, but I want to say it's Mission 24 because I think it's loading up like this is it. This is what I was talking about.
Yeah.
We can select our player, which could have been male or female depending on our gender choice at the beginning, or the protagonist of another story scenario, Laura Seven Bridge.
The three genders.
The three genders. Yo, shoutouts to Laura. Gotta be one of my favorite genders. Oh, I mean, it could have been that, or I could have just like gone for more contemporary and been like, women are my favorite guy.
Oh yeah.
God bless Kyle Gordon for doing what they could to bring back 90s Euro dance all by himself.
I am all about it.
Yes. Laura's an Ojo-sama. She doesn't look like it. I mean, I guess she is wealthy, for sure. I mean, like, she's from the line that descended from the line that originally found Seven Bridge. But yes, here it is. We're fighting, like, we're literally above the clouds. This is absurd.
That's, like, it's not an expensive level to author or render, but that's really effective at setting the sense of scale.
Yeah. And unfortunately, because of like how this is set up, this is naturally like insanely slow to control.
You don't have to worry about the analog sticks at least.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. But it's like when I got to this point, this was definitely like amazing at how ridiculous it was. The problem is like this asshole is just way too good at like stuffing all of my attacks. Whatever reason. Oh my god. Come on, just get...
I like how you've got to have Rocket assisting just for you to take a step forward. It's not like Rocket boost, it's just Rocket slowly walking.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm just gonna try and spam out, like, hits as much as I can. Unfortunately, it's like it's just hitting, like, his shoulders, which just seem to be blocking for whatever reason.
Can you sidestep?
I think so, or... Yeah. Well, like, so how sidestepping works ultimately is, like, if I'm sidestepping left, I need to hold L1 and R2. And then it's like, if I sidestep right, it's R1 and L2. again, it's the sort of thing where, like, I wish it was R1 and R2 that you had to press. Honestly, I'm not gonna win that just because, like, I've forgotten how absolutely slow it is to do that and, like, actually win. Just suplex it into Sydney. No, no. God damn it! I don't want to. Look, the last Robokai has already suffered enough with Zeon dropping a colony on his house. All right, I don't need to keep bringing this up. Whatever. Let's just get into versus. So versus mode, fortunately, we do not need to have a second DualShock to, like, plugged into the PS2 in order to do it. We could do, like, one player versus CPU. But let's check out the free training. Here is your entire roster of robots.
Whoa, some real weirdos here.
Yeah, including our good friends, the Tellbell 1 and 2.
Excellent.
Yeah, there's, like, load this up. Again, it's always kind of annoying just how, like, it takes a good several seconds for the model to actually load in. But here's what I'm talking about. This
wow.
Cheshire Cat-looking robot. That's
like,
it's a
nightmare of that robot from, Zone of the Enders, crossed with the Cheshire Cat.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's a good point. This one is, he's fire-based. He's got, like, fire coming out of his head. He has an interesting attack, actually, where if you crouch, and I believe it's, like, the X button, or another button combination, it shoots fire out of his head. So it's, like... but, like, it doesn't just, like, ignite your fire. It basically acts as, like, a flamethrower coming out of his head. But those fists are rockets, and there are special hooks, hook moves that you can do that take into account, like, he'll flip the rockets around and then use the thrusters to power up their, like, their strength. Man, there's the Vordon. And then there are, like, these two DC-class robots that are just clown-themed. Because, of course, that's what you do. Yeah. Yeah, DC Clown and DC Harley, like, is short for Harlequin. And then these are, like, the big boss enemies. Like, this is General, who is really huge and slow. He both wields, like, giant, like, double-sided, like, big-ass fucking axes. And then, like, the actual final boss comes in, like, two forms. There's Nextans 1 and Nextan 2. Nextans 1, as you imagine, is armored. Nextans 2 is, like, what's underneath the armor. If it loads up.
Looking one and your horrible biological looking thing underneath.
With puppet strings. If you can barely see it. Oh god. Oh god, this is King Gainer gone wrong. Oh no.
Oh, that's true.
I mean, he's got the dreads. Makes sense. Let's actually show off Freedom, because that's definitely one where I want to kind of demonstrate that. Let's beat up the Cheshire Cat robot.
I also want to see the one that's like middle right that looks horrifying.
Oh yeah, there's one that's extra goofy where, like, the whole idea is that, like, its attacks are all like radio waves or some shit like that. Like it's a very
the wrestling ring.
Yep.
I promise.
Yep, like I said, the joke Hasio made turned out to actually be true. So this is the Freedom. So just to kind of go through, like, the moves, you know, has a jab, like always, and the hook, and the backhand, the back blow, like the upper chop, and but the uppercut is different. Where it's like you angle down and then press down on the D-pad and your attack button, but instead of an uppercut, just kick straight up. And when I was talking about how foot position matters, you know, with the foot, with your foot back, you press the button corresponding to it. Instead of a straight, you get that. And you also get a powered up version if you take that foot and move it forward at the same time. and it's a rising knee, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, and so now the camera is just like side-on fighting game sort of camera.
Yeah. Also, because of its kick focus, you actually get... This is one of the few units that gets airborne attacks in the form of a dive kick. And in addition to that, if you hold all 4 shoulder buttons, you levitate. You know,
Nice.
in case you want to fake out your opponent into thinking you're going to land, so they're going to ready an attack, but they whiff, is the idea. Now, here's the command list. Like, it usually starts below all, like, the regular, like, left and right attack inputs, because they're all meant to be kind of the same. You know, obviously some are different in the case of Freedom, where, you know, like, there are kicks replacing punches. And as well as, like, you know, crouching attacks and things like that. But here, it's like, you got the Ripple Mazer, which is assigned to the X button. Most robots, once you've unlocked this particular ability with the X button, it's usually like a long-range projectile that's not very strong. You could think of it as being akin to how the photon beam in Mazinger Z used to be. You know, before it became the most OP destructive thing in the world for Shin Mazinger Z. Like, it was like, he always had like just that very piddly eye laser that was nothing compared to a rocket punch. But if you press X and circle, you get like a drop pin heal for the right leg. X and square does the same thing, but for the left leg, naturally. And then let's get yeah, these are like the jump dive kick moves that I was talking about. This is like a special move you can do when crouching. This is the levitate that I was talking about. And then, like, these are your hyperwave moves. And yes, that includes a super plasma kick, which requires you to press both square and circle at the same time. But, like, the crouching move for, like, square and circle is, like, it's a faster way to get out, like, that quick rising knee attack.
Wow, it really went flying.
Yeah. And then this is the super plasma. That's the Inazuma kick right there. It's got the spinning and everything. But yeah, the freedom's cool. Like, I can absolutely see why that was the unit they make you play as in another story, because, like, just replacing punches with kicks makes a ton of difference, and, like, really does highlight how, you know, just because it's not like Robot Alchemic Drive, where you can control your punches with, like, motions on the analog stick, doesn't mean it's lacking in depth. You need a double-jointed thumb to pull that off. Yeah, that's a good point. So, yeah, which one were you talking about that was in the middle right? Because what came to mind was this
that one.
Yeah.
Jaminga X.
Yep, that's correct. Yeah, it's all, like, jamming radio waves and things like that.
Oh, wow. It's like Robbie the Robot.
Yeah, it's got the most toy robot look out of all of these. Yeah, it's just real. It's really something. Let's just beat a Vordon with this just to kind of show what it is. Though it might not be as powerful as you'd expect, because the idea is that, like, it's emitting a bunch of jamming radio waves and whatnot that is designed to screw up the other person's control of their robot. So we'll look at the command list. You know, like, these are for, like different waves and stuff. This is important to note because, despite being listed as, like, 2 different moves, like these 2 that I'm cycling through, it's more like a toggle for one or the other. Which I might as well show what happens when you press all 3 of those buttons. It emits, like, these antennas. It emits them absolutely adorable, like, rainbow-colored rings. But then X and circle uses the right arm to emit, like, its own specific rays. Same for the left arm with square and X. Although that didn't seem to hit for whatever reason. But let's see what happens when you hit them with like the hyperweight move. Oh yeah, and X is just a piddly machine gun. It's like, that almost feels so out of place. Now then, hyperweight mode engage. All 3 buttons. And now it starts moving around on its own. And just like, it turns backwards 180 degrees and punches.
Must be very annoying to fight against, but very cute.
Yes, absolutely. But I do want to show off the, definitely want to show off, like, the boss enemy, next. Like, the next hand. The next hand's one is, like, not too special overall. Like, the main thing is that, like, some of its attacks are all that it has, like, these giant swords on its back that it pulls out to do moves with. But I like the next hand 2 more because it is basically the Big Bam, but but like even more combination attacks. So like a lot more emphasis on like crazy button sequences. Yeah, and let's beat up the general while we're at it. And then I think after this, just to close things out, we'll show like a proper versus match instead of just doing a move demonstration with the like with the training mode settings the way that they are. Yeah, as you see, like I was talking about, they're the very thin puppet strings just coming out of nowhere.
Wow.
And look at the size of General.
Yeah.
It's like, admittedly, this is again getting back to anime that came out after this, but like the proportions of General, it's like, I'm forgetting the name of it, but it's like one of like the 4 Beastmen Kings or whatever it was from Gurren Lagann, who's like has like his own mecha from like during like the first part of the series before they take on down Lord Genome. Because I feel like it's got like a very wide look that is reminiscent of it. But yeah, here's all like the combination attacks to start, you know, and like it's always prefaced that the combination has to start that you want to do with the foot position as designated. So like if you're doing a combo that starts with circle, you have to have your right foot back for it to work. So it could be a 2-hit combo, 3-hit combo, or 3-hit combos where the 3rd hit is done in conjunction with a D-pad direction. And then you have your hyper mode, which are the most ominous fucking names ever, with the first one being called New Order, and the last one, The End. Like a very appropriately final boss. So, yeah, that's like the 3-hit combination. Look at that. And then, yeah, I believe it was down for like the last few, so we'll try that. Wasn't close enough.
Just whiffed.
right through the axe. The axe does not have a collision box somehow, even though it hurts when it hits you. All right, let's try this again.
Inflatable axe.
Look at that, rising knee. Now let's show off some ultimate boss attacks. Here is New Order.
Yeah.
There's your Inazuma kick. But let's finish this. Time for The End. Yeah, like I said, this is just like the more powerful version of Big Bam for whatever reason. Like, I would expect, considering this is supposed to be the final, the real final boss enemy, that, I don't know, I would expect something more like reality breaking.
Yeah.
But I don't mind. It at least, it's the kind of thing where, like, if someone were to pick this one in like a versus game, like a versus match in this game, I wouldn't think it would necessarily be cheap, just because it's like, you know, he has more combination attacks, but it still depends on you being able to hit those buttons with the right timing. It still feels the most like a traditional robot character and less of a gimmick than like, half of this roster.
Hmm.
Because, like, the top half here are, like, the normal ones, plus Vordon. And then, like, these bosses are pretty normal as well. Yeah, the rest are all very weird. Because they're also the robots that you fight as part of the campaign.
Hmm.
So let's get into, like,
the lore of what these designs actually, were supposed to do when they were built, and like who's pulling the strings on the final boss.
I would have to imagine that obviously, like, by the time these robots attacked, it was like either there's another human that decided to, like, that was like a mad scientist, or they just became self-aware to, like, build more of themselves and got weirder and weirder ideas in the process.
Mm.
You know what? I'll give the next Tant one a shot. And we'll fight Vordon. Can select our stage. Which are, like, all different major locations from the campaign, naturally. We can even fight in one of the areas outside the colony cities where it looks like a wasteland. We can have it be like a basically like just a single match of best of 3 or best of 5. And handicaps, like if you want to give like a player advantage or disadvantage. And because this is a CPU match, we can set their difficulty to either regular, expert, or charisma. I'll still stick to regular just because I don't want to deal with input reading bastards. Now, you saw how the camera was positioned in training mode. Naturally, that's how these versus modes matches are also going to play out. You don't have to worry at all about controlling your own uni on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Which is a nice improvement over previous games where it was like you had control of them and like it was a split screen setup. Oh yeah. Nice. I want to double check. Oh yeah, I can still check the command menu even here. Okay, yeah, that's actually good to know. So still have our jump attack. We got right foot back X plus circle, which I believe does like pull out your swords in those instances. All right. Yep, like this.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, naturally it hurts. Dude, come on, you couldn't... Oh, ah, damn it. Oh, no, guard break.
Ooh.
Shoot. But yeah, and also, like, just this feels like the game's just moving a lot faster as well. Oh, I should have waited a bit further to... No, we'll try this. Yeah.
Yeah. The wing that is also a scabbard is very cool.
Yeah.
Like
I'm trying to remember, because this is the hyperway mode. I forget if it needs to use all. No, it only needs 50%. Good, let's finish this. No, I wasted it because he was in recovery. Oh. Yeah, whatever. That's the best we got. And look at that camera pan around.
Someone's gonna have to spend a long time repolishing every surface of that mech after all the sand blasting and flames and soot.
The robot surfaces are just so shiny in this game.
Mm.
It definitely adds to the look. Yeah, that's what the Yeah, that's basically the mode you go to if you've had your fill of free mission and you just want to get even quicker into the action of fighting another robot. Because a lot of the other missions have extra objectives to them as well. Like, there's one that we didn't show in free mission where it's like one of your robots actually goes amok, and as part of the gimmick, you have, like, the idea is that its core is overheating, which is causing it to go crazy. So you have to use your robot to knock it down in such a way that it is face down because the core is jutting out of the back. And then you, as Uni, climb onto its back and spray like a fire extinguishing like material on it to try and get its temperature back down to normal levels. It's kind of a confusing and frustrating mission at first until you realize that the overhead attacks where you're looking up and then you press up and square or circle to hit down is how you knock down an enemy that they are face first. But I guess to close it out, let's actually show one of the promo videos that they included on this, which I'm pretty sure was from like a TGS or something.
Only one robot game.
Again, looking at the back of the box taglines and stuff like that, like, overwhelming confidence is what this game exudes. Like, this was not Sandlot working on this. Yet someone at Konami, after they apparently got the rights to this, after Human Entertainment folded, was like, I can do this. It even has the old logo, actually. 30-meter tall robot action. Oh yeah, there were also, like, autonomous, like, flyer drones. We didn't get to see those. But yeah, there's, like, the Excel Vulcan coming out of the Vordan. That was an Excel uppercut as well. Yeah, I love, again, just they understand the appeal of these games, that they are, like showing how the controller is used in this unorthodox way is an important thing to demonstrate.
Yeah, this is the era where people would start expecting very standard controls for everything, right?
Yeah, not to the same degree that it eventually got once the 360 and PS3 rolled around, for sure. But yeah, and there it is, designs by Yokoyama Kao. Just kind of like, yeah, I like just showing the concept sketches and how it translates to the much cleaner looking in-game models naturally. But yeah, there were people working on this game that are just unbelievably proud of what they were doing. And I would be too, considering that this absolutely does things that I had wished the Sandlot developed remote control robot games were able to do as well. You know, like, the training mode is cool. The foot indicator, in addition to torso and, like, enemy position indicator, is genius. You know? Like, I appreciate the challenge initially of, like, eyeballing that stuff to make sure it lines up properly, but after a while, you kind of just want that quality of life feature to just be there.
I like the idea that someone might adapt that into a modern fighting game where you just have a stance indicator that you have to worry about.
Well, it's funny because Virtua Fighter, greatest fighting game series ever, basically has, like, systems in place where, like, certain moves are designed to come out based on whether you are in an open or closed foot stance. Like, Jackie's game plan especially is built all around that because he has a dedicated button inputs for swapping between it on the fly. You know, I mean, like, he's Jeet Kune Do, it makes sense. But yeah, the fact that, like, you don't see that in a lot of fighting games is also pretty surprising. I mean, at the same time, you also don't see individual character weights being factored into fighting games either. Like, that's just something where, like, Virtua Fighter's just always been that super in-depth with it, and that just is what makes it special. And this game is also very special, too, in its own right. This is pretty much the end of the remote control robot saga, as I call it. It all began with Remote Control Dandy, developed at Human on the PS1. Then Sandlot was formed by the remains of Human, who decided to, pursue things forward in their own way, and still made a few of those before they went to just being all about EDF, which I don't blame them for. EDF is awesome.
Oh yeah.
And then someone at Konami was like, we need to make the real sequel to Remote Control Dandy. And it was like, and it's the sort of thing where, like, if I were to ever get a sequel to this, I think I would be hard-pressed to figure out, like, what would be a genuine, like, mechanical advancement to make with this. Like, the only sequel I could see... The only sequel I could see is one that just adds more content. Yeah.
Make it in VR where you just get that sense of scale, being tiny next to your giant robot.
Yes. That... Fuck, you know what? That actually is genius. I can agree with that. The only difficult thing I would have to get behind that is whether or not... Because I mentioned this when showing off Robot Alchemic Drive, like the issue with getting another one of these sort of games made, I feel, is like there is no developer, even if they're an indie developer, that is more creative than a lot of AAA devs are now. None of them are brave enough to commit to the control scheme nonsense that these games were defined by. Like, especially because Tetsujin 28 by Sandlot is way more... It is way easier to grasp, I feel like, for most people than others, because it doesn't use the shoulder button system for moving forward and backwards. It just uses regular tank controls with the D-pad. So, like, that would probably be the best I could hope for. I don't know if anyone would be willing to do something that controls like this and not go the co-op route of designing it entirely as a joke. Because these games are not jokes. They are sincere in what they were striving to go for. Fucking fantastic game. Thanks for being on for this one, Millennium. I definitely felt you would get a kick out of this for just just seeing another one of these, especially with like a pretty inspired visual style like this.
Yeah.
As for the next year, the Mecha stream, naturally it's going to be a week and a half from now. Also, won't really be hearing much from me on that front as well, since like I'll be busy with other stuff. But September 2nd, the classic Armored Core saga will come to a close. It's the big stream I've been waiting for, where I just show off the hardest story path in Armored Core Last Raven. Cool Guy will be back for that as well, since he's been with me for the entire duration of the 3rd generation of Armored Core. Well, almost the entire duration. Scheduling conflicts caused him to miss Ninebreaker, but that almost doesn't count. Ninebreaker is literally a training mode. It's got no story context to the rest of the games, but look forward to that. Is all I could say. I can only hope that when you see it, you'll like learn even more why I give so much of a shit about the old Armored Core games.
Oh yeah. I look forward to it.
Till then, have a good rest of the week, everyone. Enjoy whatever games you're playing as well, especially since August has just been chock full of them. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Game over.